Tonight's Powerball draw may be setting up one of the strongest repeat number patterns we've seen in weeks. Several numbers are beginning to cluster together again and again, and experienced lottery players know this is exactly the kind of trend that deserves attention before a major draw. Over the last few Powerball results, certain number zones have started dominating the board. The 30s are heating up rapidly. The high 60s continue appearing at an unusual rate, and one particular number is now repeated so often that many serious players are refusing to leave it off their tickets tonight. In this video, we're breaking down the hottest Powerball numbers for May 8th, 2026 using real draw history, repeat cycles, frequency analysis, and momentum patterns based on the latest results. We'll look at which numbers are staying active, which combinations are quietly building pressure, and which Powerball numbers may have the best chance of returning tonight. By the end of this video, you'll see why some players are focusing heavily on numbers like 36, 42, 51, and 65 heading into tonight's draw. Recent Powerball trends are revealing something interesting. One thing that immediately stands out from the recent Powerball draws is how concentrated the winning numbers have become. Instead of numbers being spread evenly across the board, several zones are now repeating with surprising consistency. And this is often where advanced lottery tracking starts becoming interesting. If we look at the last 8 draws, the first pattern becomes obvious very quickly. The number 36 has appeared 4 separate times in a very short stretch. That includes draws on April 20th, April 25th, April 27th, and May 4th. For a number to stay this active across multiple cycles usually attracts heavy attention from experienced players because momentum numbers sometimes continue longer than expected. But 36 is not the only signal developing right now. The entire high number range between 60 and 68 has become extremely active over recent draws. Numbers like 62, 63, 64, 65, 67, and 68 continue showing up again and again. In fact, nearly every recent draw contains at least one number from that upper zone. This tells us that the high range is currently dominating the Powerball board. Another important detail is the growing strength of the 30s cluster. We've recently seen 30, 31, 32, 33, 35, 36, and 37 all appearing within a compact time frame, when multiple nearby numbers begin rotating together like this. Many lottery analysts interpret it as an active number corridor rather than isolated random hits. At the same time, repeat cycles are becoming easier to spot. The number 42 returned in back-to-back draws. The number 65 also repeated within a very short gap. These kinds of recurring appearances often become the foundation for short-term prediction strategies used by many longtime lottery players. Right now, the data suggests that tonight's draw may continue favoring the mid-30s, upper 50s, and high 60s ranges unless the current momentum suddenly breaks. The hottest Powerball numbers for tonight's draw. Some numbers are simply appearing too often to ignore right now. When the same numbers keep resurfacing across multiple draws, many experienced lottery followers begin treating them as active momentum numbers instead of random repeats. And heading into May 8th, a few numbers are clearly separating themselves from the rest of the field. The first number attracting major attention tonight is 36. What makes 36 so interesting is not just the frequency, but the consistency of its return pattern. It appeared on April 20th, then again on April 25th, returned 2 draws later on April 27th, and showed up once more on May 4th. That level of activity in such a short cycle is difficult to overlook. Many long-term players believe numbers that stay active through multiple draw windows can sometimes remain alive longer than expected before finally cooling off. Another number building strong momentum is 65. This number appeared on May 2nd and then returned again on May 6th, keeping the high number trend fully intact. The upper 60s zone has already been dominating recent draws, and 65 currently sits right in the center of that active range. Some lottery analysts consider this kind of fast repeat behavior a sign that the number pool has not fully rotated yet. Then we have 42. Which quietly became one of the strongest repeat candidates after appearing in consecutive draws on May 2nd and May 4th. Back-to-back appearances are relatively uncommon in Powerball, so when they happen, players often continue tracking the number for at least another cycle or two. One more number worth watching carefully tonight is 51. This number appeared on April 29th and then returned again on May 6th. What makes 51 interesting is how it connects both the mid-range and upper-range trends currently developing on the board. It also fits into the growing activity inside the 50s group, which has started producing more repeat appearances recently. Beyond those major hot numbers, several secondary numbers are also beginning to gain attention. Numbers like 30, 52, 63, and 18 have all shown repeat behavior or strong proximity patterns within recent draws. These are the kinds of numbers many advanced players keep in rotation while building balanced tickets. Right now, the strongest momentum appears centered around the 30s corridor in the high 60s zone, with several repeat candidates still active heading into tonight's draw. Powerball numbers showing the strongest signals tonight. While most players focus only on the 5 white balls, experienced lottery watchers often pay just as much attention to the Powerball itself. In many cases, the red ball develops its own short-term behavior patterns, and recently, one particular trend has become very noticeable. The lower Powerball range has been dominating recent draws. Over the last several games, the winning Powerball numbers have included 2, 3, 5, 11, 13, 14, and 15. Almost every recent result has stayed inside the lower half of the Powerball pool, suggesting that the current cycle may still favor smaller numbers rather than higher ones. One Powerball that immediately stands out tonight is number 5. This number appeared very recently, and many players believe repeat opportunities become stronger when a number returns after only a short absence. Smaller Powerball numbers also tend to attract attention whenever a low-range streak begins forming across consecutive draws. Another number drawing interest is 13. What makes 13 especially interesting is how closely it connects to the recent sequence involving 13, 14, and 15. Consecutive clustering inside the Powerball range sometimes signals an active numerical corridor, where nearby numbers continue rotating for several draws before shifting elsewhere. Powerball 11 is also gaining attention because it fits directly inside the current low-range trend without being overly repeated yet. Some players see this as a balanced position between hot and overdue behavior. Then there's Powerball 3, which continues standing out as a possible repeat candidate due to the recent dominance of extremely low Powerball values. Historically, when low numbers begin appearing in clusters, they can remain active longer than expected. At the moment, the strongest Powerball trend appears concentrated between 2 and 15, with numbers 5, 11, and 13 looking especially active heading into tonight's draw. The most powerful number combinations for May 8th. After analyzing the recent repeat cycles, hot zones, and clustering behavior, a few number combinations stand out as particularly strong for tonight's Powerball draw. These sets are designed using momentum balance rather than random selection, combining active low, middle, and high-range numbers that continue showing strength across recent results. The first combination many players may want to watch closely is 18, 36, 42, 51, and 65 with Powerball 13. This setup combines several of the strongest repeating numbers from recent draws. The ticket stays balanced across the board while also keeping exposure inside the hottest active zones. Numbers 36 and 65 currently carry some of the strongest momentum entering tonight. Another interesting setup is 30, 36, 52, 63, and 68 with Powerball 5. This combination leans aggressively into the high number trend that has been dominating recent Powerball results. It also keeps the powerful 30s cluster active while extending into the upper 60s range, which continues producing repeated appearances almost every draw. Players looking for repeat cycle potential may find value in the combination 18, 30, 42, 52, and 65 with Powerball 11. What makes this set interesting is how tightly connected these numbers are to recent short-term rotations. Several of these numbers have appeared within only 2 to 4 draws of each other, which is often where recurring patterns begin forming. One more combination drawing attention tonight is 31, 36, 37, 51, and 63 with Powerball 3. This setup focuses heavily on the currently active mid-30s corridor while still maintaining exposure to the strong upper range trend. Consecutive zone clustering like 31, 36, and 37 is something many lottery trackers continue monitoring closely whenever the board becomes compressed around certain ranges. Of course, no prediction system can guarantee results in Powerball. But many experienced players believe that building tickets around active momentum zones, repeat candidates, and short cycle frequencies can sometimes produce stronger selections than completely random picks. Strategies. Many serious lottery players quietly follow. A lot of casual players change all of their numbers every single draw. But many experienced lottery followers approach the game very differently. Instead of chasing completely new combinations each time, they often focus on tracking momentum, repeat behavior, and active number ranges over short periods. One common strategy is staying loyal to hot numbers while they remain active. When a number like 36 appears multiple times within a short cycle, many players continue keeping it on their tickets until the trend clearly fades. The reasoning is simple. If a number has already shown strong activity recently, some believe it may still remain inside the current rotation pattern. Another technique involves studying draw spacing. Some numbers tend to reappear after only 1 or 2 draws, while others return after slightly longer gaps. Recently, numbers like 42, 52, and 65 have shown short cycle repeat behavior, which is exactly the type of movement many advanced players pay attention to before choosing new combinations. There's also the idea of zone concentration. Instead of selecting numbers randomly across the entire board, experienced players often focus on ranges that are currently producing the most activity. Right now, the 30s and high 60s have become some of the strongest performing sections in recent Powerball draws. This is why many prediction-based tickets continue leaning heavily into those areas. Balance is another important factor. Some players avoid building tickets entirely from hot numbers because historically, winning combinations often include a mix of active numbers, quieter numbers, and occasionally one surprise selection. Keeping a balanced spread across low, middle, and high ranges is a strategy many long-term players prefer. And finally, disciplined players usually avoid emotional decisions. After a losing draw, casual players often panic and completely reset their numbers. More experienced players tend to stay patient, continue tracking trends, and allow short-term patterns enough time to fully develop before changing direction. Heading into tonight's draw, many of these strategies point toward continuing momentum in the 30s corridor, the upper 60s range, and the lower Powerball zone. Final thoughts before tonight's Powerball draw. So as we head into the May 8th, 2026 Powerball drawing, the strongest trends continue pointing toward repeat activity in the 30s corridor and the high 60s range, with numbers like 36, 42, 51, 52, 63, and 65 showing some of the best momentum based on recent results. The strongest combinations tonight appear to be 18, 36, 42, 51, 65 and 30, 36, 52, 63, 68, while the Powerball numbers with the highest attention right now are 5, 11, and 13 due to the continuing dominance of the lower Powerball range. And before you leave, make sure to check out the next video appearing on your screen because it reveals one critical mistake that quietly destroys most lottery strategies without players even realizing it. Once you understand that mistake, you may start looking at lottery predictions, hot numbers, and ticket selection in a completely different way. If you enjoyed today's analysis, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment below with the numbers you're watching tonight. I always love seeing which combinations everyone is feeling lucky about before the draw. Good luck tonight, stay positive, and remember that every draw brings a brand new chance to change everything. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.